If there's one thing I've learned from running businesses is that you need time to recharge, reset, and really go inward. Otherwise, you will go insane. So having routines implemented into my life that bring me, lower cortisol and relaxation is super important. And one of my favorite ways to do that is to sauna. But sauning isn't always super convenient. Like, trust me, you have to go to a gym, or if you want to put one in your house, they're really expensive. And that's just not something that is always accessible to me, especially when I'm at the shore for, a fraction of the year. I can't always just have like a sauna on site. So that's where I love taking my sauna with me. And that's all thanks to the Bon Charge sauna blanket. Bon Charge is a holistic wellness brand with a huge range of evidence-based products to help optimize your life in every way. So if this sounds interesting to you, go to boncharge.com/manifest and use coupon code manifest to save 15% off. That's BONCHARGE.com/manifest and use coupon code manifest to save 15%. We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. So don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, then you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. So ditch the busy work and use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so that you can connect with candidates faster. Listeners of the show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/manifest. Just go to Indeed.com/manifest right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/manifest. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Manifest with Tori DeSimone. I'm your host, Tori DeSimone, and this is part 2 of my entrepreneurial journey. So last week I posted part 1, and if you haven't listened to part 1, I definitely recommend to go give that episode a listen, because this essentially is going to be a continuation from last week. I was yapping for an hour and I didn't even get to stride yet. So this is going to be stride to present day of how I built a spin studio, and all of that, and all the journey that comes with it and that goes with it, what I learned, what I'm still learning, and pretty much up until present day. Definitely recommend, like I said, listen to part 1. I kind of go into why I never told the story in its entirety. The Spark Notes version of that is I felt like I was waiting for a certain moment to be considered an entrepreneur. And I'm just realizing that I am one, regardless of whatever I was like waiting for to happen. That just isn't simply, I don't know what I was waiting for, other than realizing that like I am one, and I'm in the middle of my journey, and my journey will never end, because this is the life that I've chosen for myself, and I'll see myself down a million different avenues, and there's not like one thing that makes you more of an entrepreneur than the next. So anyway, I waited for a while to tell my story, but I also felt like everyone just knew my story, which is kind of ignorant of me. So I don't want to like reiterate exactly what I said in part 1, but definitely go listen back to part 1, because that brings us from childhood to YouTube to moving to LA to finding spin, which then brought me to stride, and how everything is interconnected. And I couldn't have been here had I not started posting on YouTube 12, 13, 14, however long years ago. So if there's any message in that, it's to just start, because you never know where this crazy journey will take you. But anyway, today's episode is part 2, and it's all about stride. If you are new to me, new to this podcast, new to my content, hello, my name is Tori. I'm 26 years old. I currently own 4 brick and mortar spin and fitness studios. One is in the suburbs of Philly, in a town called Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. And I own 3 locations at the Jersey Shore, 2 in Sea Isle, 1 in Avalon, New Jersey. And it's been such a dream. Definitely had ups and downs. We will get into all of that today. And yeah, I'm really excited to dive into part 2. So let's just get started into part 2 of my entrepreneurial journey. So, very, very brief little backstory. I was filling my classes when I was a spin instructor in 2017. And it was about October of 2017 that I really started to toy around with the idea of, should I open a spin studio? I knew that I always wanted to open up a spin studio. I was 19 at the time, but I knew that I wanted to do it a little bit later in my 20s. I wanted to do it when I was like 24, 25, 26. And I never thought I would do it as young as I did. But I was at a certain point in teaching spin classes that, honestly, looking back, was like really quick. And no wonder people like really doubted me, because I was only teaching for like 6 months at the time before I was like, maybe I should open my own studio. But it was, if you listen to part 1, it's kind of just like in my blood to just do my own thing. So I was teaching for about 6 months. I was filling my classes, waitlisting my classes, building a really great community in my classes, and I was feeling really, really good about it. And I was talking to one of my clients / good friends that was at the studio that I was teaching at, and her and I were talking after one of my early morning classes, and she said, you and Jess was my coworker. At the time, she was another spin instructor at the studio that I taught at, and she was my favorite spin instructor there. She was a really, really big part of my spin journey. She really made me fall in love with it. She made me feel really, really comfortable at that studio that I was going to. Made me feel really loved, really accepted. And her class was one of the first classes, I think it was the first class, where I really felt like I can do this. Like, she pulled me up to the front row one time and she was like, you should ride in the front. And I just remember feeling really good and really empowered after her classes. So she really meant a lot to me, and her classes meant a lot to me. She had a fantastic following. People really loved her. I really loved her. And we kind of just had this like special bond and special relationship with one another. And it was really special, and it still is. So anyway, I was talking to one of my friends and clients at the time, and she was like, you should team up with Jess. And if you guys opened up a studio, it would be really crazy. So I sent her a text after that conversation that I had, and it was like 7 a.m. And I texted her. I said, hear me out. What if we opened a studio together? And she was like, I'm in. Like, I'm so all the way in. So let me give a little bit of context to why my immediate thought was to open a studio. I wanted to be full-time fitness, but the problem with full-time fitness is there's a lot of burnout that comes with full-time fitness. If the most traditional way of thinking when it comes to being a full-time fitness professional is to teach a lot of classes. Now, the problem with that is if you're doing a class like spin and that's your forte, that means you have to actually be doing the workouts themselves. And that leads to a lot of burnout. And there's only so much the human body can do every single week for the whole year. You know what I mean? Like, I was just recently talking to a guest instructor that I had at the studio last weekend in Sea Isle, and he was teaching at his peak like 22 classes a week, 52 weeks a year. It's crazy. It's a lot, and it's going to inevitably lead to burnout because that is just so much stress, and it's a lot on the body. So I wanted to be full-time fitness, but I didn't want to just be teaching fitness classes. Now I know so many other ways that you can be full-time fitness without, 1, burning out, 2, teaching more classes, and 3, owning a studio. Those are those final 2 ways, teaching more classes and owning a studio at the time in 2017, were pretty much the only options if you wanted to be full-time fitness. The studio that I was teaching at did not allow, I had a non-compete, so I couldn't go to other studios and teach at other studios, and that prevented me from being full-time fitness, which is really what I wanted to do. So my only other option was to open a studio. Now in 2024, as I'm recording this, there are so many ways to be full-time fitness that don't burn you out, that don't include teaching more classes, and that don't include opening a studio. I think for some people, the answer is teaching more classes. And for some people, the answer is owning a studio. But I will also say, I've seen friends in the industry go out, open their own studios, and realize it's not what they wanted and it's not for them. Whether it be in the fitness industry or in the hair industry or whatever industry it is, owning a studio absolutely changes a lot of things, because a lot of instructors leave to open their own studios because they want to make fitness full time. But what actually ends up happening most of the time, from one, my own experience, and two, talking with friends in the industry, is you end up teaching less because you have other responsibilities, such as managing people, payroll, taxes. Like there's a lot more responsibilities that come with owning a studio than just teaching more classes. And some people love it. Some people don't like it. Personally, what I learned is I don't love managing people. It's not my favorite thing in the world. I don't want to be a manager. I don't love the day-to-day operational tasks, but I do love the creativity behind building the businesses. How can we scale it? How can we grow it? How can we get creative and think outside the box to bring people in, keep people here? I love the marketing of it. Like, I love that side of it. I love working on the business rather than in the actual day-to-day of the business, which when I opened a studio was not something that I was planning on experiencing or noticing or whatever. So all to say, some people, owning a studio is the right direction for them. Others, it's not. But there was really no way to tell back then. So in 2017, my two options were teach more classes, which was not an option for me at the time because I wasn't able to teach elsewhere and there weren't any more classes at my studio. Like, there weren't other time slots to be given out. So that was option one, couldn't happen. Option two was to open a studio. So I've thought about it for a while now. If you guys remember from part one, I said in college, my plan was to drop out of college, do YouTube full time, so I could make enough money to then eventually open up my own studio. So that was always the plan. It just happened way sooner than I thought. Reason being, I wanted to be full-time fitness, and the market was hot. It was hot, you guys. It was so hot. Like, there was another studio that just opened up and it was blowing up. So to me, I always thought if you open a studio, it's just going to do so well. Like, there's no way it can't succeed. It's going to succeed. Failure was never an option. It wasn't even something that ever crossed my mind because the only things I've ever seen up until this point were insane success. Like, Soul Cycles were opening up in the area. They were absolutely crushing it, obviously because they have a giant brand, but also boutique studios. Like, the one that I was going to was the first boutique studio in the area, crushed it. Another one just opened up. It was crushing it. There was a third one being built at the time, and it was very highly anticipated. And I'll kind of maybe get to that in a little bit if it pertains to the story. I don't know if it will. I have no notes. This is all going just off the cuff and like off memory and just like my journey and my experience. But also say I knew it was going to be extremely successful. So it was something I always had in the back of my mind. I texted Jess that day, would you want to open a studio? And she said, I'm all the way in, because she wanted to also be full-time fitness. But her and I being at the same studio, we had similar, not issues, but just roadblocks of we weren't able to teach elsewhere and there were no other time slots to be given, which I understand. So she was all the way in. So great. So we met that day. I then called my mom and I said, Mom, I want to open up a studio with Jess. And she was like, awesome, come over. I actually have spreadsheets. And she had spreadsheets made because I said it in the past so many times before that she was like, I knew this day was coming. I've just been like waiting for you to say it. So I have some spreadsheets of, rough expenses, profits, stuff like that like it could, like, this is what it could look like. Let's talk it through. I went over to my mom's house. We looked at all the numbers and we were like, if this is really what it's going to be, like, this seems too good to be true. So let's see it out. You know what I mean? So the next day, I met with Jess and her husband, and we were just talking all sorts of ideas, where we wanted to put it, what we want the colors to be, what we wanted the name to be. The name came about so organically. It was so funny. We were just texting back and forth, and at the time we really wanted the emphasis to be on spin. So we used to spell it little t, little s, capital RIDE, and then like a few years in, we just changed it to like the normal spelling of stride. But we really wanted the emphasis to be on spinning, on cycling, but also that what was really important was because we were in an area that was saturated at the time with boutique studios. It's even more saturated now, but it was very saturated with boutique fitness studios. We were coming from a studio that offered spin and bar. The other studio in the area that was doing really, really well offered spin, bar, and TRX. And another studio in the area that was highly anticipated to open up was going to be offering spin, TRX, and boxing. Now, before I got into spin, I really enjoyed boxing. I didn't talk about this in my first part because it was irrelevant, but I really liked going to this place called 9 Round, and it was pretty much just like boxing and kickboxing, and I had a really, really good time doing those workouts. So I really liked boxing, so I knew that coming into this saturated market, we needed to have everything that all the other studios offered and then some. So I didn't know exactly what that was going to look like yet, but I knew we needed to be a one-stop shop. And at the time in 2017, that wasn't done yet. So it was original, it was off the cuff, it was different, and it solved a problem that the market was having, which was what happens when you're in a boutique studio and you begin to plateau. You begin to just stay the same at this one workout. Our solution was, well, we have everything under one roof. So when you begin to plateau, you just go to the next room and you do a different workout. You know what I mean? And that solves that problem. So we were originally going to open with spin, bar, box, TRX, because that covered all 4 of what the other studios were offering, plus yoga, HIIT classes, and that was going to be it so far. A few weeks into developing Stride, I went to Solid Core and I was taking classes there, and I was loving Solid Core, and I was like, we need to have Pilates at the studio as well. So then that's when Pilates came in too. So we then added in Reformer Pilates, and we wanted to have childcare because the other big studios in our area also had childcare. So that's how Stride came to be about, of what formats we were going to offer. And then the branding and the name and all that sort of stuff just fell into place through meetings with Jess and I. The location came to be about, we were looking everywhere for location. And we ended up in the town of Phoenixville, and we love Phoenixville. It's a great town, but here's what I will say, and what I've learned the most is demographic is everything, and where you put your studio is so important for a multitude of reasons. I have seen, I don't know how to word this without sounding, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I'm just going to say what is in my brain. So what I've learned throughout the years is a lot. But when it comes to demographics, where we are is a dual income household, meaning our class times are very different because we have the dual income. So people are working during the 9:30 time slots. So what's really popular for us at my suburb location is the early mornings, like the 5:30, the 7 a.m.s, and then our night classes. Our 9:30s have always been not our most popular on the weekdays because we have working class. COVID definitely changed that, with now a lot of people working from home. But even the first 2 years that we were open in 2018, 2019, like pre-COVID, our 9:30s were never our most popular time slot. It was always early mornings and at night because we have the working time slot. You go a few towns over and the studios over there, their most popular times are the 9:30 because they typically have like a single income household. And that's something I never, ever even thought of. So now when I talk to other studio owners, or I do consulting on the side for some studio owners that want to become studio owners, that's always one of the biggest things that we talk about is what's the demographic that you want, and what's the income of the area look like, because it really does affect your class times, and that's going to affect how you schedule, how you price things. It's so interesting, and it's really, really cool to learn about the community that you're moving into, how you can best serve your community with class times. And especially a boutique studio, like everything is based around the class schedule, the class time. So you really need to make sure that you're maximizing what works best for your clientele. Anyway, I'm kind of like digressing, going off on a tangent, getting back to building stride. So we determined the location, we determined the branding, the colors, the logo, all that sort of stuff. And then we had to raise money. Raising money was brand new to me. It was something I've never done. And honestly, I hate doing it. I don't like doing it. I don't understand it a ton still. It's definitely one of my weaker points of being an entrepreneur. I'm not really good at raising money. The first places that we went to were banks for loans and friends and family. Banks did not want to loan a new business $1. They did not want to give us any money, and I understand why. Number one, I was 19. I was 19 asking for, hundreds and thousands of dollars to do a studio fit out. Once we found our location, we knew how much it would cost. We ran spreadsheets and stuff like that, and we knew how much it would cost. We needed a few $100,000. No one wanted to lend us the money from banks. I understand it. Whenever we would find anyone that wanted to finance, it was through, kind of janky websites online. And the interest rate was 25%. No way am I doing that. There's just no way. So that wasn't an option. Friends and family were really one of the only ways that we were able to get it off the ground. And thank goodness for friends and family, because it wouldn't have happened otherwise. So that was the hardest part, was raising money. And I am so grateful that we were able to, and that people really believed in us to open the doors of Stride. But oh my goodness, raising money, rounds of funding, seed funding or whatever, it was just really very foreign to me. I'm 19. I'm still learning a whole bunch of things at this point. And even still, I'm 26 now. To this day, I still don't know a ton about raising money. And it's seriously one of my least favorite things to do. I don't enjoy it. I don't get it. It's just not my favorite thing. I'm really glad that I haven't had to do that in a long time. But if, going forward, I ever do open a business where I have to raise money again, I will definitely learn more than I know now. But I'll be honest, it's not one of my strong points. And at that time, my mom did a lot of the negotiating with other people to get money. And I'm very grateful and thankful for her. So we did a lot of raising money. And once we had enough money, there were so many times, you guys, when we would have a $50,000 check due on Friday and it was Wednesday and we had $20 in the bank account. And we were okay, okay. And somehow we always made it work. I can't even put myself back in the headspace of where did this money come from? But it happened and we made it work. And I think we made it work because we just knew failure was not an option. We just knew that the studio was going to open. It was going to be a huge success. We just knew. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit. And I can also do a whole Q&A episode that you guys have about what it takes to open up a studio. If you want to talk about financing or location or how to build a class schedule, I'm more than happy to do a Q&A episode all about this. But for the sake of the episode, I'm just going to keep kind of moving it along. We fundraised, we got the money, the construction was underway, and it was go, 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 hit the ground running. The anticipation of the studio was so insane. We had so much support. We had merch that we were selling before the studio was even open, which was helping a ton with bringing brand awareness to the area. We were doing anything that we could to really, really tease it. We had a great social media following. We had our sign up early and as quick as possible so that people driving by could see what it was. At the time, we were on Mindbody, so we were already up on Mindbody. We were asking people from our old studio, which we left our studio. I decided in October that I wanted to open Stride, and then I left the studio in December, and then we opened a Stride in August of 2018. So there was I think I was not teaching longer than I ever taught. So that was kind of bizarre and wild, but that's how it went for me. Anyway, all to say, we had a really great following, and we were getting favorites on Mindbody. We had a lot of momentum going into opening our studio because we would never shut up about the studio. Any opportunity that we could, we were getting magnets, putting it on cars, pop sockets for phones, stickers on water bottles, merch for people that wanted to come to the studio. We were doing everything we could to market the shit out of the studio before it ever even opened. We were sharing our story along the way. We were putting it everywhere. We were saying that we were having auditions and interviews, and we were just shoving it down people's throats, and we would not shut up about it. And I think it really worked because we had a ton of people auditioning. We had a ton of buzz going on around the studio. We just really tried to make it as buzzy and newsworthy and loud as possible to where people were like, oh my God, I feel like everyone in the Tri-State area knows that a studio named Stride is opening in August of 2018. So that was our plan. Just be super loud about it, be super annoying about it, but we were also really, really excited about it. So we were building Stride. We were doing auditions at the studio. Fast forward all the way up until we opened on August 4th of 2018, which actually means this past weekend, yesterday, was Stride's 6-year anniversary, which is so crazy. I'm filming this on August 1st. So on Saturday, August 3rd, we're celebrating the 6-year anniversary at Stride. And it's going to be really fun, a super fun event. And I can and can't believe the 6 years have already passed by. It was really, really wild. So here's what I learned once the studio opened. I learned that our first weekend was crazy mobbed. It was super packed, crazy, crazy, crazy. And then the Monday, 3 days after we opened, that Monday hit, and it was business as usual. And then shit got real. And then I was like, oh my God, I just opened a studio. I'm now 20 years old. I'm in a 5-year lease. I remember saying to myself, when I'm 25, this lease is going to be over. I'm going to be so old. I'm 20 years old. I just signed a 5-year lease. I owe a lot of money back to a lot of people. I have responsibilities. I have rent to pay. I have payroll to pay. I have expenses to meet. It got really effing real, really, really quick on that Monday. I remember waking up that Monday being I need to go be at the studio. I need to just go be there all the time. And that is a feeling I do not miss. It was a lot of anxiety. It was a lot of panic, and it was a lot of uncertainty. Now I'm very familiar with this feeling, and it's kind of just how I operate and how I live. But I remember just this giant sense of, oh my effing God, we really did this. And here I am. Now I'm responsible for, I think we had 40 employees at the time, front desk, instructors. They have kids. Some of them are solely relying on this job to put food on the table for their kids. It was just a lot that I never really anticipated until the doors opened. So the studio was doing well, but I do remember panicking, and just some numbers were lower than I wanted, and I was panicked. And now, knowing our trends, our studio is much slower in the summer and in the fall. From the holidays to about Memorial Day, it's our busiest time. Starting around Thanksgiving until Memorial Day, those are our busy 6 months. And That's when we bring in like the majority of our sales during that time. That's when our attendance is highest during that time. And then summer to fall, it's just much slower in our studio. That's just how our trends have been for the last 6 years. So I didn't obviously know that at the time. So it was the fall and it was summer, fall, which is our slow time. And it was just like a little bit slower. And I just remember panicking, being like, what did we get ourselves into? What the F? Like, what's going on? Don't get me wrong. It was going well, but I wanted it to be better, of course. And I was talking to one of my employees in the back and she was like, Tori, listen, it took a year to build this business from the ground up. It's going to take at least a year to build your clientele. And that was some of the best advice I heard because it couldn't have been more true. Now being in the business at that specific location for 6 years, that still holds true. Like, and I was just talking to one of my friends in the industry the other day about boundaries with clients and things of that nature. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that a boutique studio is a revolving door of clients. There are going to be clients that stick with you from day one and are so loyal and will never leave. And like the fiercely loyal people, I love you so much. I truly, truly do. You are going to have people like that. You are also going to have clients that try you once and they're not for you and they never come back. You're going to have people that come and they're obsessed with you for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, a year, and then they never come back. You're going to have people that are casually in and out for the duration that your studio is open. All is to say is that the studio is a revolving door. When one client leaves, 2 will come in. One of them might stick. Maybe none of them will. I have in the past bent over backwards for clients to be happy and to make them stay, and they still leave whenever they're ready to leave, whether the schedule doesn't work for them anymore or they're just in a different journey in their fitness journey or a different place in their fitness journey, or they've grown, they want to try other like whatever the reason is. I remember in the very beginning just losing myself to try to accommodate clients, to make them so happy, to make them stick, because I was going to do anything to make the studio successful. And same with Jess, my business partner, my co-owner. Her and I were in it together to make anyone as happy as they could. And I wish I could tell myself back then, Tori, you could build the universe for them, and the people that want to leave will leave, and the people that want to stay will stay. So if anyone listening to this wants to open a studio or is in the middle of opening a studio, stick to your morals and your mission and your why. The people that identify with it will stick by you, and the people that don't will kind of see their way out. And that's okay. Like, you're not going to be the studio for everyone, and that is okay. And coming to terms with that took me a really long time. It also took us a really long time to find our core group of staff. When we first opened, we definitely had some people that were great fits, some people that weren't so great fits, and we had to kind of like not wean out, but just figure out like who our clients were, what staff was best for them, what staff was best for us. And we just learned so much. Like the first 2 years of Stride, we learned so much, and it was incredible to learn so much. So we opened in 2018. We had a really, really great year and a half. The holidays hit in 2018, and then Stride just exploded. And that's when I started to realize our trends of when we're busy, when we're slower, things like that. We just exploded in the holidays, and that just kept up and kept up and kept up. Our first year, we crushed it in business. Our second year, we crushed it even more than our first year. It was just awesome. The momentum was so high. The vibes were so high. It was really, really great. And it's easy to look back at that time with rose-colored lenses and think everything was so great. But when I tell you, like, Jess and I were learning so much, and we still are learning so much. But the lessons that you learn are just so valuable. We learned how to manage people. We learned what we liked, what we didn't like. We learned how her and I work together. I learned my strengths and weaknesses. She learned her strengths and weaknesses. We learned how we can use our strengths together to be the best partners we could be. We learned so much about collaboration and how we work and how we operate. Like we truly just learned a ton. And there were days that I was so stressed out and it was really hard. And I was like, what did I get myself into? And then there were other days where I was on top of the world and all of our classes were waitlisted and we were bringing in so much at the time, like money. I was just like, oh my God, like I can't even believe this. And we were able to bring on a studio manager. Like it was just awesome, 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 awesome. And then COVID hit. Okay, so COVID. Oh, God. Okay, honestly, I'll be totally honest with you guys. I blocked out a lot of COVID in my mind because it was really, I don't want to say traumatic because that sounds super dramatic. It was terrible. Like, it was terrible. And like I might even like get a little choked up thinking about it just because I just want to hug myself. Like I don't want to cry, but like I just want to hug myself. I didn't even talk about Sea Isle because Sea Isle began in 2019. I'll go back to that. I'm really talking about Phoenixville right now. I just wanted to hug myself because COVID was something obviously no one ever saw coming, ever. And when it began to happen, small businesses, of course, took a big hit. The fitness industry was just villainized. It was, the gym is where COVID spread. Gyms are the problem. It was just horrendous. And when you think about what COVID was, what we needed the most was to take a look at our health and be like, okay, maybe now I should get healthier than ever. But the opposite was being just fired through the media of like, gyms are bad. Don't go to a gym. That's where you get COVID. Like that's where the virus is spread. So we just had terrible press, terrible media. And being a small business owner, we had zero idea what was going on, just like anyone else. But because we were small business owners, we were kind of like expected to know when it was going to end. But of course we didn't. Like, it's not like we had like Dr. Fauci on the phone calling us and being like, hey guys, like you can open soon. Like, this is the day that we had no idea. We had no idea. And it was really hard. It was really, really hard. And I'm not looking for sympathy because everyone has their own COVID stories. And in the grand scheme of things, I'm very grateful that my family had our health throughout the whole thing. Like we got out very lucky in terms of health wise. Like no one in my family ever caught it. I still don't think I've ever had it. Like we were very, very lucky and fortunate and healthy. And honestly, at the end of the day, health is wealth. But when COVID hit and we had to close down the studio, it took a huge financial hit on us. And we didn't know how to navigate it because we never have experienced anything like it before. And we had no idea what to do. We had no idea how long it would last. We had no idea how to navigate it. We had no idea about anything. We were very lucky that we had a good financial position that we could sustain being closed for, I think we were closed for 3 months. But it got tight at the end. And when we opened back up, we had clients that, wanted 3 months or like, I don't know, like it. And here's where I understand it. Like I understand all sides of it. But where it got really tough was we just went 3 months without making any money. And then when we opened back up, we couldn't open up under full capacity. Like we had to be at quarter capacity or half capacity, and gyms were still being like villainized, right? So a lot of people didn't come back. A lot of people didn't want to come back. And when we could operate, it was only under half capacity as our max capacity. And when we were, doing our spreadsheets of numbers of opening the studio, we never planned on running a studio at a quarter capacity as max capacity for as long as we had to do it, however long we had to run it for. Like half was our absolute max, but I think when we first opened, it was like recommended to run at a quarter. So like what I mean by that, if a class could hold 30 bikes, the max we would hold was 15 when we reopened, but what was recommended was like 12. So running a studio for 12 people with our instructors being at the same pay that they were at, with our rent never going down. And I know a lot of like landlords maybe were helping their studios at the time or their tenants at the time. Not ours. They wanted full rent the whole time. And we paid it for as long as we could. But yeah, man, it was really tight. And I just remember like people were just so fucking mad at us all the time. Like then we had to wear masks, and there was like, we had to wear masks at one point. And during workouts, when people were wearing masks, we were like, this just can't be right. So we told people, we were like, if you don't want to wear a mask while you are doing like high intensity exercises, we're not going to make you do it. Like, just be safe. Please don't come in if you don't feel well, if you have a fever, And I don't know how like the state found out, but like we were getting letters from the state threatening to like shut us down, being like, you need to like do masks. And it was just so crazy. And like, I just want to hug myself because like, I really do feel like Jess and I just like weren't shown grace, and it was so hard and it was so tough. It was so tough. And we didn't know anything. Like it was our first time, and people were just so mad at us all the time. And it's like, what are we supposed to do? Like, actually, what are we supposed to do? We could not do anything right. And it was just like, people were just mad at us. And that was really, really tough because whoever saw that coming? Like, whoever saw it coming? And some studios, didn't survive that. Like they just closed right away. And I'm really happy that we did survive it. But I will say, like, we still, 4 years later, are still feeling the effects of COVID. Like, the pandemic truly changed everything for that studio. It's never been the same. What I mean by this, and obviously it's going to be different than it was in 2018, 2019. The world is different. Things are different because of COVID. Like, honestly, like the world just changed after that. But like, it's just never been the same. It completely changed our business. It just changed everything. And that was just a really unexpected wrench to be thrown in. The word pivot was like said more than anything else in the whole world. And that was just really wild. So COVID changed everything for us. And yeah, I do just want to give myself a hug and just be like, it's okay that you don't know everything. And it was just hit after hit after hit. Like, we were closed for 3 months, then we opened. And then in that 2020 holiday season, which, remember, the holidays were our busiest season, we needed those holidays so bad. We needed the money. We needed it so bad. We had to mandate to close again. And it was, oh God, it was just terrible. And I made a podcast episode during that time of like burnout and like just how, I don't know if depressed was the right word, but I was just defeated. Like, it was hard. And we never got to really process like what was going on because we had to keep the business afloat. We were doing online classes, Zoom classes, and people would just be mad at us. Like if we would go into the studio to film, people would be like, how could you go into the studio? Like you're bringing COVID in. It's like, oh, but I don't have COVID. Like I'm not seeing anyone. Like I don't have like it. We just couldn't do anything right. Then we were doing it from home and people would be mad about the software. And it's like, we're doing our best. Like it was really hard. It was really hard. We definitely had people that were appreciative and were supportive, but what it honestly felt like was just everyone was really mad all the time and we never had the answers and people wanted answers from us and we just never had it. So that was really hard. So on top of it being COVID, I was in the middle of opening another studio. So let me rewind back to 2019. If there's one thing I've learned from running businesses is that you need time to recharge, reset, and really go inward. Otherwise, you will go insane. So having routines implemented into my life that bring me, lower cortisol and relaxation is super important. And one of my favorite ways to do that is to sauna. But sauning isn't always super convenient. Like, trust me, you have to go to a gym, or if you want to put one in your house, they're really expensive. And that's just not something that is always accessible to me, especially when I'm at the shore for, a fraction of the year. I can't always just have like a sauna on site. So that's where I love taking my sauna with me. And that's all thanks to the Boncharge Sauna Blanket. Boncharge is a holistic wellness brand with a huge range of evidence-based products to help optimize your life in every way. They're founded on science and inspired by nature. So all of Boncharge products adopt ancestral ways of living in the modern day world. They have a huge range of premium wellness products that help you sleep better, perform better, have more energy, recover faster, balance hormones, reduce inflammation, huge things for me. The list is truly endless. They have blue light glasses, red light therapy, EMF management, circadian friendly lighting. Boncharge products help you naturally address the issues of our modern day way of life effortlessly and with maximum impact. So like I said, I use the Boncharge infrared sauna blanket because it helps me unwind at the end of the day. What I really like most about it is I can plug it in, it heats up really quickly, and then I get in it and my head stays out of it. So I get all the benefits of sauning without being like overly way too freaking hot. I can watch Love Island while I'm in the sauna. I can read a book if I want to while I'm in the sauna. And I get all the same product or all the same benefits. And it's so easy. I can bring it from my apartment down to the shore with me. And it's just like the best thing ever. It helps me really relax. I find that I sleep really well at night. And when I get a good night's sleep, I'm ready for the next day. And then that carries on energy for the whole rest of the day. It just makes my whole life so much better. It's really easy to clean. I'm just obsessed with this thing. What's really cool is that Boncharge ships worldwide and in rapid time. They have free shipping on every sauna blanket with no hidden costs. They have really easy returns and exchanges, and they have a 12-month warranty. So if this sounds interesting to you, go to boncharge.com/manifest and use coupon code manifest to save 15% off. That's boncharge.com/manifest and use coupon code manifest to save 15%. We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. So don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, then you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. So ditch the busy work and use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so that you can connect with candidates faster. Indeed doesn't help you just hire faster. 93% of employers agree that Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. As you guys know, hiring for the right people in your business is so important. And when it comes to the expansion of Stride, a place that I've always looked for was Indeed, whether I needed to hire someone in the managerial field or someone in the creative marketing field. I've always looked to Indeed, and they bring me the quality candidates that I need for Stride immediately so that I can only spend my time interviewing people that are going to be really good fits for the job. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your everyday preferences so that the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. So join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. Listeners of the show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/manifest. Just go to Indeed.com/manifest right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/manifest. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Okay, so pre-COVID 2019, we were hosting a charity event at Stride, and one of my instructors and good friends, Rachel, was saying to me how I should open, or we should open, like Stride should expand. And at the time, pre-COVID, that was absolutely the goal. Stride was doing really, really, really well, and I wanted to expand Stride. Jess at the time was like, I don't want to, but I want you to see the brand grow. So I went out and was continuing to expand Stride. That was always the goal. She had 2 kids and so 3 kids, including her stepdaughter. And she wanted to focus on just the Phoenixville location and her family. And it worked really well because I obviously don't have kids. I had the time, I had the energy, I had the drive, and I had the ability to go out and like build the brand and expand it more. So we had a really great agreement, really great understanding. It was honestly so awesome and really cool of her. So the plan was to open more locations of Stride. And where I wanted to open it was, I had 2 locations in mind. I wanted to open one in Westchester because Westchester is, one, a college town, but also a family town. So I thought it was a great location. And 2, I wanted to put another one in Philly. Philly fitness scene was just exploding in 2019. It was huge. It was everywhere. And that's like, that's where I wanted Stride to be. So I knew those 2 things were on the horizon. But I also was talking to Rachel, and she was like, you should put a location down at the shore because it would just crush it there. There wasn't anything like it down at the shore. People needed it at the shore, and it was just going to be like a gold mine essentially. And I was like, I agree. I think we should definitely put one at the shore for a few reasons. One, I selfishly was 21 at the time, and I wanted to be down at the Jersey Shore. That's where I wanted to be spending my summers. That's what I wanted to do, but I needed to work. So I was like, I'll put a studio there so I can work at the shore and live at the shore. Awesome. 2, like I mentioned, our summers were slow, and they have always been like way less busy than the other times of year for us because people go to the shore. So I'm like, I will just put the studio where the people are. So that made a lot of sense. So for those 2 reasons, I was like, let's do it. So I started looking for locations at the end of 2019, early 2020, like January. I found spots in Sea Isle. I knew I wanted to be in Sea Isle. Like that was the only place that I wanted to be, was Sea Isle. It was young. It was fun. It had the demographic for it. It had the income that I would need for a seasonal business. And that's all it was ever going to be, was seasonal. It was never going to be year round. It was only going to be from like Memorial Day to Labor Day. Like that was going to be the season of Sea Isle and Stride. So that was always the plan, always the goal. I found a few locations, a few fell through, but I ended up being at the place that I was at. We told our staff, everyone was so excited. That was the plan. It was great. I signed the lease of Stride Sea Isle on March 1st of 2020, period. Then the world shut down like 13 days later. And of course, again, I had no idea what was going on or what to do other than I just signed a 5-year lease. I have to make this work. And we did. So we kept building, even though so the build out started in March. I wanted to open Memorial Day. We actually ended up opening in June, which was crazy, and I'll get to that. But I knew that it had to be a quick build out, and I knew also that, so the space in Phoenixville that we have is just under 4,000 square feet. The space in Seattle that I have is just under 2,000 square feet. So it's half the size, and the way that it's built is a bit bizarre. There's like a bunch of concrete rooms in the storefront that I got. So I couldn't put multiple rooms in there. And I also needed to keep it small enough. I knew I wanted it to be a smaller operation than back home in Phoenixville. So I decided that it was just going to be spin. And because it was a seasonal business, I was like, I don't need to have all the other formats. I just want it to be spin. So I knew the price point that I needed. I knew I knew everything going into the business of the fit out. And I did a fit out like 18 months before that. So it was very fresh in my mind still, felt really, top of mind. So I was like, all right, let's do it again. I signed the lease March 1st and we got permit approval like right before the world shut down. And my contractors had to take like 2 weeks off. And then after that, he was like, what do you want to do? And I was like, honestly, like build it, like send it, like let's just go. So Phoenixville studio was closed. Sea Isle studio was announced and people were very excited because it was announced pre-COVID. So it was like still like the buzz and the hype and like everything was like showing up stride. And then the world shut down and I was like, we got to keep going. So all that stuff's happening with Phoenixville while I'm still building out the studio in Sea Isle. To make a long story short, Memorial Day comes and goes and the studio's not ready to be open, but in early June, it was ready to be opened. And I was like, well, I once again have a lot of money to pay back to people and I am on this lease. I got to make money. I got to open. So at the end of June, every business was in New Jersey because now the businesses are now in different states. So there's New Jersey and there's Pennsylvania. The distance between the two is about 2 hours, but they are in different states, different governors, different rules that we had to follow, especially during COVID. So every other business in New Jersey was able to open except for gyms and I think like beauty salons and hair salons. So I was like, oh my God. So I was operating, but we weren't really marketing that we were open. If you knew about Stride and if you knew that we were open, you could come spin. And we kept it very on the DL. We kept it very much so like it was just like a coveted secret in the town. Like if you knew us, come. If you didn't, hopefully we'll see you next year. But it was a very slow and messy. Like it was messy. Like someone called the cops on us because we were open. So I was like, oh my God, like why am I getting the cops called on me? But like the pizza place literally next door can be open and the boutiques can all be open, but like my gym can't be open. I was following all the rules. We had the bike spaced out. We were cleaning. Whenever people had COVID and if they came to your store or something with COVID, you would have to like close for 2 weeks. So we had to close for 2 weeks one time because someone had got COVID. And it was just like crazy. And then I had people back home that were like, they didn't love that I was going from Jersey to PA, which I understand in hindsight. But at the same time, I was literally going from my house to home and I was fine the whole time. Like it was just really, really hard to navigate in 2020. 2020 was very, 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 very difficult. And when like the summer then ended, oh, and also we had a lot of noise issues. So the way that our studio is, it's underneath a bunch of condo buildings. So when we were playing sound out of our speakers, it was going directly up through the vents into the condo units above. So they hated us, rightfully so. We were probably so annoying. So my landlords were like, we will give you money to close down early. And I was like, no, we can't do that. So I had those issues going on top of a pandemic, on top of not really even being able to be open, on top of like trying to not upset everyone by trying to just like stay afloat. And it was just really tough. Like it was just like 2020 was hard. And then on top of all that, we ended up closing Labor Day. It was a fine first season. It obviously wasn't ideal, but it was fine. And then we had to close again in the holidays for Phoenixville. And it was just like hit after hit after hit after hit after hit. And that was tough. 2021, I thought it would be better. A lot of growing pains in 2021. A lot of growing pains. A lot. I learned a lot that year. It was a very tough year. I lost some really important friendships to me. Some really, really, really important friendships to me that I'm still honestly sad about to this day. They were intertwined with work. They were it was like one of those friendships that like it was family, you know, like it felt like a sisterhood that I just like lost. And that was really, really sad to me. That was really tough. And it was just another tough year. The first half of 2021 was tough. The second half started to look up. It really did. And I'm really, really glad that it did. Also with 2020, we had a lot of staff that either like stuck by how we were running the business or didn't. So there was a lot of people that left during COVID, and that felt really tough because I didn't know what more we could have done to make everyone happy. But that's also what I learned. It was just like, we can't bend over backwards to make everyone happy. The people that like what we're doing are going to stick by us, and the people that don't, that's okay. And that's okay. And that was tough to accept, but had to learn. Like, I just learned a lot. I learned a lot in that year. So the second half of 2021 definitely picked up and felt a lot better. It felt like the world could open back up again. It felt like Stride Sea Isle's first year. It felt like our opening. I brought in a ton of girls, and I hired pretty much a whole new staff for Stride Sea Isle. And I really got to build the business exactly how I wanted it to in this post-COVID world. And that was what I needed, honestly. Like, it saved me. Like, it really, really did. I needed to do what I knew in my mind the business needed, what the world needed, what the industry needed through my eyes. And it really saved me. It brought me so much hope again, and it made me fall back in love with the industry, because I'll tell you, like, I was angry for like a year at it. I was mad. I was like, I was just angry. And I'm sure a lot of you guys had similar experiences during COVID of it being tough. And I'm not here to say like my experience is worse than yours or my experience is better than yours, or all of our experiences are different. And all's to say, the second half of 2021 really brought so much hope back into fitness studios for me, and boutique studios, and like what could be. So that was incredible. And every year of Sea Isle has felt different, because every year we continue to build momentum. Every year we've added on, expanded, grown in some capacity. So 2020 was the opening year. 2021 was the year that like I really felt like we were open. I brought in a ton of new staff, a ton of new girls. I trained them all exactly how I wanted the brand. I was really upfront, and I was like, look, this is, now I'm 3 years into owning studios. So I knew what I wanted from a brand. I knew what I didn't. I knew what I was going to accept. I knew what I wasn't. I wasn't going to put up with bullshit. I wasn't going to put up with people like scaring me into running the business a certain way. Like, I knew what I wanted out of the business, and I was very upfront with my staff, and I was like, this is what I expect. This is what it is. This is how it's going to go. I don't want to hear drama. I don't want to be involved in drama. Like, I just need it to be XYZ. This is how I want the clients to feel. I want them to feel happy, good, fulfilled. Like, they're on vacation. Give them the best experience possible, no matter what. And I'm so proud of my staff down there. Our staff at home in Phoenixville was truly just incredible. Like we had to have a lot of growing pains in 2020 and in 2021 to really get to the staff that we had then and that we have now. From 2021, the second half of 2021 till present day, we have had just such a rock star staff at all locations. Like everyone is just team Stride. Like whatever it takes to make Stride the best and the happiest, they're in for it. Like they are team players and it's incredible. It's so incredible. And we had to really get through like the mud and the dark times of it to come out on the other side of like, these are our people. This is our community. This is what we stand for. This is what we've learned. And this is how we show up in times of tough times or need or whatever it is. Like it was really just, while those years were tough, we needed them. Like we needed to learn a lot. So I'm glad that we did. And I could do a whole episode too of like really talking about like what I learned. But anyway, so 2021, now I'm talking about Sea Isle because now here's how it currently goes in the present day lay of the land. I'm at Phoenixville for like 8-9 months of the year. Pretty much from the fall to the spring, I'm at Phoenixville. And then from in the summer months, I'm down at the shore locations. And that's just how it works and how it divides. Because like I said, Jess is co-owner with me at the Phoenixville location. When I'm in the shore locations, she's such a fucking rock star, man. She just holds down the studios there. She like fully just takes care of business, takes care of everything. Just such a rock star. It's all good there. And then when I'm at the shore locations, that pretty much gets my full attention because it's the only time that it's open of the year. So I just really go all in during the summer and it is exhausting and I'm in the thick of it right now and I couldn't be happier. Which is so crazy, but like I feel like that just sums up entrepreneurialism. It's like you're in the thick of it. Oh my God, this is awesome. Oh my God, I can't believe this. Oh my God, it's the best day of my life. Oh my God, it's the worst day of my life. All at the same time. So now talking about Sea Isle, every year it's been different. 2020 was COVID. That was like a bizarre year. 2021 was the first year that really everything could be run how I wanted it to be with the staff that I wanted. And we really got to like show Sea Isle who we are. This is Stride. This is what we offer. Welcome to Stride. That was really great. 2022, Pilates was starting to enter the scene. So I wanted to add on to Stride, but I didn't have any room to do so. So we added beach mat Pilates because we're on the beach. So we started to add beach mat Pilates. That brought a lot of buzz to the studio as well. So that was really great. So now we were a rhythmic spin and beach mat Pilates studio. Also, to kind of go back a little bit about our sound issues, what we ended up doing at CI was we use headphones for our sound. So we don't project sound. It's all through headphones. And that was a really great fix for our problem with sound going through the vents. It was honestly the cheapest option rather than like ripping out the room, trying to re-soundproof the whole room because we did try to soundproof it. I guess it just didn't work. That would have just been so expensive and I wasn't doing that, especially after COVID. Like we just didn't have like the extra funds to do that. And I wasn't going to go raise money in a very shaky industry. Like the fitness industry at that, like then, like 2021 was very shaky. No one was putting money in the fitness industry. So trying to raise money for that would have been a joke. So I was like, we just need to do what makes the most financial sense. And headphones was the solution. And we still use headphones to this day. I love them. And you adjust to them really quickly, but I actually really love them. I was hesitant at first. I'd like gaslight myself and it'd be like, these are great. But now like I can actually say like they are great. And I do love them very much. So anyway, we had the headphones. So then in 2022, we had spin and beach mat Pilates. 2023, that was going to be the year that I entered it and was like going to be on cruise control. The business has now been open for 4 summers, even though it's 2023 and we opened in 2020. It was summer of 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023. So 4 summers. We were on a 4th summer and I was like, I'm going to like chill, be in cruise control. Like the studios are like great. I have a fantastic staff. We have a fantastic community. People know us, people love us, people like, we just have such a great community down here. Well, I loved everything the studio was doing, but I wanted to expand and continue building. So the beach mat Pilates is going great, but the problem was it was very weather dependent, obviously, because it was outside. So when it was too windy, people were getting pelted with sand, or if it was raining, we had to cancel class. And there was a few incidences that we were able to move the classes inside the studio and like do it in the spin room. But most of the time we just had to cancel the classes. And I was like, well, this sucks. I don't think that's really great for our reputation. I don't like canceling classes. And I just want to like be able to expand the brand a little bit more down here. So it was after Labor Day. It was June of 2023. My mom found a empty space on the town or in the town that was a great price. It was a great location. It was 1 block back from where we currently were. And it was like turnkey, meaning it was ready to go. So I went to go see it that Tuesday. I think it was maybe a Monday. It was a Monday. I saw it that Monday. I got the keys the following Monday. I hit the ground running. We were open 21 days later. And then that's when Stride expanded to its second location in Sea Isle. So now we have 3 studios total, 2 in Sea Isle. And that was when Yoga and Pilates by Stride Sea Isle entered the scene. So last summer, we now offered spin, beach mat Pilates, yoga, and Pilates. I thought yoga was going to be a big hit. It was a hit, but it wasn't as big as Pilates. The girls spoke. The girls wanted Pilates. Anytime I put Pilates on the schedule, it was waitlisted. It was full. It was what the girls wanted. And I was really shocked. I just thought yoga was going to be what people wanted, but it was Pilates. But I personally fell in love with yoga last summer. And I was like, this is just so awesome for me. I couldn't love it more. It's really just everything I love. So then last summer, I opened up, obviously, yoga and Pilates, and then spin. So I had 2 locations. Then going into this year, 2024, I was like, okay, I have my 2 studios. It's going to be great. I'm very excited, blah, blah, blah. It was January of this year, and it was like a week after the new year. And it was a Tuesday morning, and I wake up, and the first thought in my mind was, I need a studio in Avalon. I texted my realtor without thinking, and I said, do you know of any locations in Avalon that are open? He said, I do. He sent me the listing. I said, can I come on Friday to go look at it? He said, yes. So Friday, I drive down. I look at it. The following Tuesday, I have the keys. And I'm like, perfect. So that location, also very, very turnkey, was going to be Avalon's or Stride's Yoga and Pilates in Avalon, which is 1 shore town down from Sea Isle. So that was Stride's 3rd location at the shore, 4th location total. So now we're at present day. I have 4 locations, 1 in Phoenixville, and then 3 at the Jersey Shore, 2 in Sea Isle, 1 in Avalon. And that was wonderful. That was just spin. I'm sorry. That one in Avalon was just yoga and Pilates. Now, going back to about fundraising, like what I said, the thing with yoga and Pilates was the studio was able to pay for those renovations, and it was because I didn't do any sort of custom fit outs. With a yoga and Pilates location, it's mat Pilates, not reformer Pilates, so I didn't have to like get the big machines or anything like that. And the studios were already beautiful, and they had exactly what they need. For locations like yoga and Pilates, you really just need an empty room. Everything else can be fitted into it. So I got mats, balls, yoga blocks, little decor. The bathrooms were already done. I put desks in, fridges, dehumidifiers. I used the gas heat there. So it was already pretty much good. I didn't have to repaint anything. I, brought in cubbies, and I did what I could to fit out the studios and get equipment and stuff, but I didn't need to like do any construction. So the fit out was relatively quick. I had the Avalon studio keys in hand by January. We started to do the fit out around February. We would go down on the weekends and just do what we could. And then by April, it was ready to rock and roll. So collectively, again, probably about 21 days, and it was ready to go. So this year, I expanded, and that has been awesome. And I can very safely say that this year has just crushed any of my expectations that I've ever had. And I learned also a lot. I've had the best days ever down here this summer, and also some of the worst. And sometimes they happen in the same day. And that's what it's like being an entrepreneur. It is wild. It is crazy. Like you learn so much. Also during all of this, like while I was building the original Stride CIO, which we still have, by the way, I was switching us from MindBody to Mariana Tech, which is our point of sale system, our scheduler. I was switching all of that. Like I have just learned so much. And I will definitely do an episode of what I learned this summer and like what's been going on this summer. Cause I feel like I keep saying like, oh my God, a lot's happened this summer, but I haven't said anything. So I'll kind of talk about it like once the season concludes. I mean, we're in August now. So in about a month, the season will end, quote unquote. I'll stay open for a little bit in the fall too, but the main season will end in about a month, which is so crazy. But oh God, you guys, it's been such a wild ride. It has been such a wild ride. And I know I just glossed over the last 3 years of 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, but it's really because the journey of owning and operating Stride was like pre-COVID, during COVID, post-COVID. Post-COVID is a blur, and I saw a quote the other day that was like, when you feel like you're drowning, you're actually learning how to swim. And that couldn't be more true and more accurate of how I feel and felt during those really tough times. And even now, like there are days where I feel like I am just fucking drowning. And I now look back and I'm like, I'm learning to swim. Like I have learned so much. And that above all else is the most valuable thing of owning these brick and mortar studios. What I'm learning is immeasurable. I would never have been able to learn this in school. I would have never been able to learn this from a seminar. I would have never been able to learn this from a masterclass, from someone telling me. Sure, like you can be told things 100 times till you're blue in the face, but until you experience things and you go through it yourself, you're like, okay, now I see why I needed to go through that. Now I see why I needed to like drown to swim. I get it now. And I'm really grateful. There was a time where I was angry and I was like, what did I get myself into? And there have been moments where I'm like, this is like, it can't get better than this. And it always does. It always gets better. It always gets better. So I'm going to leave that. I've been yapping for what, an hour 15 at this point. I got to wrap this up. But here's what I'll say. Being an entrepreneur is the most crazy, wild journey I've ever been on. I'm still very much so in the middle of it. That's why the story is kind of just like ending in the middle, because there is no end. I don't know where it's going to take me. I don't know where it will lead me. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what the future looks like. I don't know anything, because if you asked me 6 years ago what Stride would look like in 6 years, I would have told you that I probably would have been done, because my lease was up after 5 years and I was going to like do other things. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. So to say what it's going to be like in 5 years, 6 years, 1 year, even like 3 months from now, I don't know. But I do know that this is a crazy, crazy journey. And I love it. I wouldn't trade it for the world, even on days where I'm like, why am I doing this? It's the best thing I've ever done. And it's my baby. And I love this business and I love these studios. And it's just a really cool journey. And there's a lot more to come. Like I'm as an entrepreneur myself, I always think of what's next. And I've tried other things in the middle of this. Like I put out Manifest Planner, which was a physical planner. Where is it? Somewhere under there. It was a physical planner. And I learned very quickly that I did not like giving direct products to consumers. Like I did not like being in the e-commerce space at all. I didn't like shipping. I didn't like customer service. I didn't like making product. I did not like it. And I am like, I tried to keep it up. I tried to pivot. I tried to like figure things out. I didn't like it. It like just wasn't for me. I love the product that I made, but I didn't like the business around it. It wasn't for me. I've mentioned before that like I'm beginning to start a consulting business where it's really focused towards full-time professional or full-time fitness professionals, how to create a career in fitness full-time without burnout. Maybe that does look like owning a studio. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it looks like creatively thinking of how can I, make a full-time living without burning it. Like that's really where I have a lot of passion and a lot of ideas for people. Like I see people, I have just learned a lot from being in the industry that now I see things differently than I did 6 years ago. And I see so much potential in people that I want them to live up to. And I've learned a lot, and I know I keep saying that, but now I've learned so much that I just want to share it with people. Like genuinely, I want people to succeed. I want people to be able to live out their dreams and live out what they want to do with their lives, because I feel so fortunate that I get to wake up and make my own schedule and do what I want to do and do what makes me feel passionate day in and day out. Like that does not get taken for granted. And I'm really, really grateful and fortunate that I get to do that. I want others to be able to experience that as well. And if that means being a full-time fitness professional, I want to help others do that. If that means become a studio owner, I want to help others do that. Like I wish I had someone when I was building Stride back in 2018 to ask these questions to, because if there was one thing that we didn't have back then, it was people that were offering to help us. We had to figure it out every single step of the way. It was like a snowball effect. Like we had to create an LLC. We had to get loans. We had to, where do we get the sound from? Where do we get the equipment from? Like all that stuff, we just had to figure out on our own. There was no one to ask. No one wanted to tell us. It was like a coveted secret industry. And to their point, like why would they want to tell their soon-to-be competitors where they got all their stuff from? I understand that. For me, I just want to help. I just want to see everyone succeed. And I really, really love helping others. And I'm really excited to dip my toe into that I've built the experience, I've built the knowledge, I've learned so much, and now I just want to share it. I really, really do. So that's kind of where I'm like heading next, in addition to Stride and like continuing on with these brands and this business. But I'm always looking for more and like how I can continue to evolve and continue to grow. And this feels really good and really authentic to me. And I've learned a lot, and it would be honestly like a sin to not share what I've learned, because I wish I had someone to ask these questions to. And I want to be that person for people out there that, when they need to know things, like I want to be the person that they feel comfortable enough to ask. And like, I will give you the honest, straight up answer. Like I'm not gatekeeping anything here. So anyway, okay. I guess that's going to do it for my journey and part 2 of this story. There is still so much to this, and I could talk about this stuff forever. And I'm really happy that you guys liked part 1 as much as you did. And this is part 2, my tell-all of how I opened a spin studio. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And there's, like I said, still so much. And I've let my coffee just like fully melt over here. I've been watching it this whole time just like melt down. And it's so good. I need some more, but okay. I'm going to let you guys go. I love you guys. Happy Manifest Monday. Happy 6 years to Stride. I love you, Stride. You're like the best thing ever. You're my girl forever. And yeah, I love this business and I love being an entrepreneur. So, okay. I love you guys. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Happy Manifest Monday. And I'll talk to you all next week. Bye guys.